Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. We are ready for the event.
NASA PAO, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Station for a voice check.
Station, this is NASA PAO. How do you hear me?
NASA PAO, we hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. It's so great to hear from you guys and to talk to you. Good morning, and thank you for joining us to talk with International Space Station Expedition 64 flight engineers and NASA astronauts Kate Rubins, Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Soichi Noguchi. On Sunday night, Mike, Victor, Shannon, and Soichi, the NASA SpaceX Crew 1 crew, launched from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida aboard the SpaceX Crew Dragon Resilience spacecraft to the International Space Station. Their spacecraft successfully docked to the station on Monday evening, and they joined Kate Rubins, who has been living and working on board the station for the past 5 weeks. Their docking marked the start of the first crew rotation flight of a U.S. commercial spacecraft and begins a regular cadence of space station missions launching from the U.S. aboard commercial vehicles. It is so great to see you all on board. We'll go ahead and start with any remarks that the crew would like to make and then take questions for them. For media on the phone, please press *1 to ask a question and *2 to withdraw your question if it's already been asked. With that, I will turn it over to the crew.
Okay, thank you. Boy, I tell you, it is fantastic to be up here. The launch itself was absolutely incredible. That vehicle really gets off the ground, and so it was exciting all the way up, and the ride was very smooth. So it's, I know we had a few delays along the way, but we launched when we were supposed to, and we got here when we were supposed to. So from Crew 1, we just want to say thank you again to all of the folks at NASA, at SpaceX, the DoD, everybody that helped make that launch successful. And we are really looking forward to the next 6 months up here on the International Space Station.
Here. Okay, let's get started with Q&A. Let's start with Chris Davenport with the Washington Post.
Hi guys, it's great to see you. My question is for Soichi. This is now the third vehicle that you've flown to space. I just wonder how Resilience compared to the Soyuz and the shuttle. Thank you.
Hey, Chris, thanks for the question. For the record, the Dragon is the best. It's a short answer. And of course, each vehicle has its own, peculiarity. But I feel Dragon is really ready to go up. It's really it's fun to ride. And 2 days and Dragon is really remarkable memories. So I'm really happy to be here again.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to Joey Roulette with Reuters. Okay, we'll come back to Joey. How about Russell Pounds with Pacific Rim Media?
Good morning, folks. Great to see you. This is Russell. I'm calling from Alaska today. And a question for Shannon or maybe Victor. I understand you've taken quite a few science experiments up to the station along with the many already in progress. Which experiments do you think might be most surprising or meaningful to those of us back on Earth?
You know, that is a very good question, and I'm not sure I have an answer for you at this time. We really haven't gotten into the experiments. We're still sort of getting organized, and so I may have to wait a few weeks before I answer that because I'm honestly not sure what we've got going in the next few months.
Okay, let's go to David Curley with Discovery Channel.
Hey guys, thanks for doing this. Could you fill in a little more about what the ride was like? How did it compare to what Bob and Doug said? The sounds, the vibrations, did it match up pretty quick? And Kate, what did you tell the rookie when he came through the hatch there? You were waving your arms. I'm just curious what you said. Thank you.
I was so excited to see Ike's face coming through that hatch. We've been thinking about this moment up here together with the two Sergeys, waiting for our 4 crewmates to join him. And I think I said, "Oh my gosh, you're here!" we were just really, really excited to see them coming through the hatch and to welcome our friends to the International Space Station.
Yeah, and in terms of the launch itself, you know, I mentioned at the beginning it was an exciting ride, and that really doesn't do it justice, to be honest. Bob and Doug described it pretty well, but it just, when you're sitting there on the rocket as it's going through the fueling process, you know, there's noises and vibrations, and it, in many sense, you can tell it wants to get off the ground. And particularly in those last 2-3 minutes as the final fueling's happening and the strong batch retracted and things of that nature, it's definitely ready to go. And it leaped off the pad. It was amazing. And right after we, about 40 seconds into the flight, you throttle back a little bit, and you definitely noticed that. But then when it was time to get going again, it really picked up, and yeah, and it was really moving. Staging is always pretty exciting, I think, on any rocket, and this one is no different. There was when the first stage shuts off and separates, and then that second stage kicks in. You definitely know that as well, and then this just slow, steady build-up in G's all the way up into orbit. But I tell you, we were all very excited. When we passed the 100-kilometer point, we all said, "Welcome to space" to Ike, because that's certainly a big moment. And I think it's probably worthwhile to hear what Ike thought of his first ride to space as well.
Yeah, it's a great question, and the short answer is it was awesome. I could sit here and tell you for the entire duration of this conference how great the ride was, but the staging was dynamic. The G's on the second stage is much closer to our spacecraft, so you felt it. It was much more up close and personal, but we accelerated for several minutes, and so the G just slowly built in. You definitely felt it. And then when that engine cut off and we were in orbit, I mean, it's surreal. I've seen tons of pictures, but you know, when I first looked out the window at the Earth, it's hard to describe. There are no words. There are no words to describe it. It was an amazing, once-in-a-lifetime feeling.
All right. The next question will be from Marcia Dunn for Associated Press.
Yes, Victor, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. What was your biggest surprise about the launch, and having flown 3,000 hours and more than 40 aircraft, how hard was it to be hands-off the whole time? Thank you. Thank you.
Interesting. That's a great question, Marcia, and how you doing? So, you know, when I first started training for this 30 months or so ago, that was a big deal to me. I will tell you, on the 15th or Greenwich Mean Time on the 16th, it wasn't an issue at all. The rocket, the Falcon 9, performed superbly the way it was supposed to. Dragon performed superb. We had some things to work through, but we worked through it as a crew. And I tell you what, the thing that surprised me the most, and it's interesting you referenced, you know, having 3,000 hours and some combat time flying high-performance jets. The G was not the highest G I've ever felt, but it was for probably the longest duration. And so that was a surprise. In a fighter, you can't hold, you know, 4 Gs for several minutes, not most aircraft. And so that was a surprise. And again, once those the second stage cut off and you're floating, again, I've been able to feel that for a few seconds, but to have that for an extended period was just truly amazing.
Okay, let's go to Jeff Wynn with CBS Los Angeles.
Morning, Victor. Thank you for doing this. I hope you can take a question from me. You know, I'm from your hometown. Earlier in the week, I got to speak to your college wrestling coach, Coach Cal, and your department director at Cal Poly, Dr. Walsh. And both of them said that they literally cried when they watched the launch. And you going up was like having them on your back. What's it like for you to hear, you know, your college instructors speak of you with that much pride? And, you know, what are you hoping to share with kids, you know, from this mission? Because I know that that's something that's very important to you as a girl dad.
Wow, thank you for that great question. you know, a girl dad, a dad period. I hope that this inspires people to literally and figuratively look up. I really think having something to look up to now, especially as we bring 2020 to a close, it's just something that we all need. And, you know, you mentioned two people who mean so much to me, and I could name a ton more, but, you know, Coach Cal and Dr. Walsh, my advisor in undergrad, were huge inspirations to me. And so to hear that they were inspired by this, I mean, you're about to make me cry. That brought tears to my eyes just now. I was fortunate to see a shuttle launch when I was still flying test missions in the Navy, and it brought a tear to my eye. It was just such an amazing thing to think those folks are leaving the planet for a while. And it's hard, again, another thing that's kind of a life-changing event. So to share that with them was truly an amazing opportunity. Thanks for the question.
Wow, now we're all crying. Okay, let's go to Tarek Malik with Space.com.
Hello and good morning. My question is for the station veterans and for you, Kate. I'm curious, you know, this is the first time we've seen a 7-member long-duration crew. I'm wondering, does it feel extra crowded? Are there lines at the galley and the WC? I'm just wondering what you're hoping with that extra person on board to accomplish in terms of science and research for the station. Thanks.
Thanks, Tariq. That's a great question. And I would say it's crowded has got like some negative connotations. This is busy in a great way. There's energy up here. We've got people zooming by. You know, Hopper's been working in the glove box this morning. Somebody else is in another module doing science. Somebody else is on the exercise machine. So you can tell that there is just so much going on the space station. And by having 5 of us up here now, we're able to really accomplish a huge amount of research. And so there's some level of maintenance that we always have to do on the space station. And so when you're just one person like me, a lot of the time gets taken up just keeping this place running. Now that we've got all of us, the amount of scientific output that you're going to see from this mission, I think, is absolutely incredible.
All right, let's go to Rachel Joy with Florida Today.
Hey, everybody. It was an amazing launch. Thank you so much for doing this today. We're just dying to know how you chose Baby Yoda as the zero-G indicator, and how does he compare flying on the Falcon 9 versus the Mandalorian spacecraft? Thank you.
Well, yeah. So you know, each crew, the zero-G indicator has a long tradition that crews have been able to pick those out, and so each crew has that opportunity. And so that was one we talked about. We had just started watching the series, and it's hard not to like Baby Yoda. And, you know, it kind of ties in, I think, with the name of our spacecraft as well. We talk about resilience, and, you know, it's been a tough year, and, you know, the fact that they were able to, SpaceX and NASA were able to get our spacecraft ready to go, the rocket ready to go throughout this year, throughout the pandemic and all of that, you know, we were inspired by everybody's effort to do that. And so that's why we named Resilience, and we hope that it puts a smile on people's face. It brings hope to them. And so Baby Yoda does the same thing. I think everybody, when you see him, it's hard not to smile. And so it just seemed appropriate. It seemed appropriate for our crew as well. We like to have a lot of fun, and we have been having a lot of fun. And so, again, it was very appropriate. I think the ride into space was probably a little rougher than Baby Yoda was used to compared to what he rides normally.
Okay, thank you. The next question will be from Nick Samuel with Vero News.
Hi, everybody. This question is for Victor Glover. I know that you talked about your first space flight experience earlier. So can you talk about how it finally felt to make it to the International Space Station? Did you have a sigh of relief, or were you unnerved? Can you talk about that?
Wow, Nick, that's a great question. And, you know, it's so many different feelings. It's hard to explain. It really is hard to put into words the awe of seeing the space station, even over our video system from Dragon, and then feeling the soft contact, the slow deceleration as we made contact with the station. and then making full contact and pressurizing, opening the hatch, seeing Kate, all of these emotions. I mean, the happiness, the relief, but then knowing that we've got work to do and wanting to contribute. And also getting used to space. You know, I was very slow. My brain is constantly trying to figure out where up is. And I don't know if it's because I'm a new guy. They made me sleep in the ceiling. So every time I pop my head out, the entire space station is upside down. So I just stay upside down as much as possible. But that I think requires extra processing. And so everything else takes me so much longer. And so I'm trying to push through that and get work done. But it is an interesting challenge that I actually find slightly amusing. So it's been a whole bunch of emotions, and honestly, I'm still processing it. I've been writing little notes to myself and things in my journal, and hopefully I'll look back on it and be able to give you a better, more concise answer. But it is so many different feelings, but excitement is definitely one of them.
That's fantastic. Okay, let's go to Mark Carreau with Aviation Week and Space Technology.
Good morning, and thank you. I want to follow up on a question to Kate earlier, and my question is for Mike and Shannon. What do you see having 5 people in the U.S. segment now? What is your sense of the environment and the future of having that many people aboard to do all the maintenance and research?
Yeah, I can. I'll start off, and I'll just say it's go time up here. I mean, we came across the hatch just a couple days ago, I guess, but it's been pretty busy since we showed up here. So I think the folks on the ground, all of the investigators out there, I think they've been waiting a long time for this moment. And so they've got our calendars full already, and I think it's a good thing. We are going to see just how much science can come out of this space station, and it's a lot, but it takes a lot of extra work too, because there is limited space, there's limited comm capabilities, there's limited video capabilities, and so you have to coordinate all of those kind of things together, and that's going to be challenging. And I think it's going to take us a few weeks to get our feet under us and figure out how 5 people are actually able to work around here without running into each other the whole time and all of that. But it is pretty exciting.
Yeah, just to add to that, people have asked about whether or not we've got, collisions on the exercise equipment or the WHC, but really it's the traffic jams that we have going through the modules trying to get from where we need to be from one place to the other. So it's definitely, you can tell that it's a lot fuller here instead of 3 people on this side, 5 people, but everybody's right, we're going to get a lot of work done, which is really good for all the science that goes on in the world.
Okay, let's take the next question from Robert Perlman with Collect Space.
Hi, a question for Mike Hopkins. You described how Dragon performed as a spacecraft. How is it performing as a bedroom? Have you set up camp inside Dragon as you expected? And I know you had some temperature issues on the way up, getting it warm enough. Have you experienced that again?
Yeah, that's a great question, and to be quite honest, I'm not quite there yet, because the first thing that we had to do after arriving is we had to get all of the cargo off, and then we had to move a lot of emergency equipment on board as well, and so that took us a little bit of time to do that, and I didn't really want to try and get set up in Dragon until all of that movement was done, and I could kind of figure out where the right place to put the sleeping bag was, and the few items I'll take inside there. As far as the temperature, they've been very generous and kind of dropped the temperature down a little bit right where we are, and this happens to be where the other the crew quarters are, and so that's to make sure that that Resilience stays cool for me. It's probably been a little bit chilly, but I've certainly been comfortable. We're probably going to have to talk about the temperature a little bit more here, but overall, I think it's going to work out just fine. It's a roomy vehicle, and so I'm looking forward to the next 6 months, and we'll see. Probably it's going to take me a few more days to really get settled in.
All right, let's go to Stephen Clark with Spaceflight Now.
Hi, Stephen Clark for Spaceflight Now. I want to follow up on my an earlier question from Chris Davenport for Soichi Noguchi. What makes Dragon the best, and can you give us a little window into life aboard the ship for 27 hours on the way to the space station, and how cramped is it compared to your experience with Soyuz and Space Shuttle? Thanks.
Well, my other crew member already described, but the Dragon was fun to fly. It's really kind of they wanted to go. Dragons really wanted to go to space. The engine was really crisp and clear, and feel the vibration, and definitely defies the gravity, and brings up to space in a matter of 9 minutes or so. And the difference mainly is the feel of all the plumbing, or also the fueling, that you actually feel the liquid oxygen going into the tank a couple minutes before the flight, and also the feel the thruster, vibration, sound, and also the small orientation controlling jet. Since I'm sitting by the window seat, I feel the jet is firing just right next to my head, which is actually a good sign. So obviously this is feels like you are actually inside the Dragon, bringing us up to space. So that was quite a feeling.
Okay, let's take the next question from Jackie Goddard with the Times of London.
Hello, and congratulations on another successful Crew Dragon flight. You all make spaceflight look so easy, but we know space is hard. What would be your best tip to future space travelers about how to prepare for living and working in space, particularly those who may not be career astronauts? I guess basically my question is there anything important that Tom Cruise needs to know?
I think if people are going to come to space and not be career astronauts, I think the biggest tip you could have is to be organized. Because if you're not organized, you're going to lose your stuff in no time flat, and that will make life really hard. So you've got to be well organized to be in space.
Okay, let's take a question from Joey Roulette with Reuters.
Hey, I just wanted to follow up on the bedroom Crew Dragon question. Was there any competition for who gets to sleep in Crew Dragon? And Mike, since that'll be you, what I guess will your sleeping arrangement look like, and what kind of tests and data will you plan to get from that? Thanks.
Yeah. We were talking about, if you know rock, paper, scissors, there's also another version called Gunman, Gorilla Man, Karate Man. So, but actually, there was a tradition when the shuttle used to come up and bring components and supplies to the space station. I think the commander always ended up sleeping on the shuttle, and it just felt right that's where I was supposed to go. And so, we talked about it as a crew a little bit, and everybody was, everybody would be willing to sleep wherever, right? You're in space, and so you're not going to complain. You don't want to complain about where your sleeping quarters are. But in terms of, what we're going to get out of it, most of the time while we're docked, Dragon is going to be in what we call a quiescent mode, and so it's completely powered off. And so really, I think one of the things that I'm becoming more conscious about as I'm spending more and more time in there is I don't want to do anything to damage anything as I'm going in and out. And so for 160 or plus days, 200 days, whatever it is that we're up here, and I'm using that as my bedroom, it's also what's going to get us home. And so I want to make sure I don't do anything to compromise that while I'm sleeping in there. So I will probably spend a lot more time outside the crew quarters than if I had, or outside Dragon, than if I had one of the crew quarters that are in here. So I think that is an important piece of it that I don't ever want to forget.
Okay, let's take a question again from David Curley with Discovery Channel.
One more item on that, Mike. Are you looking for them to send up some more quarters? I've heard them called, if they're attached to the floor or the ceiling, coffins as you float over them. They kind of look like coffins, foam booths on them. And Soichi, could you talk about what your flight and John Young mean to you? You've accomplished what your hero, your mentor, did.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Yes, there is a plan to have another crew quarters on board. It's called actually CASA, and so it didn't make it here in time. There is a possibility that it might show up midway through the expedition, and so if that is the case, then I will be moving out of Resilience and into that crew quarter. And as I mentioned earlier, I think that's a good thing because I think we want to just make sure we always keep our return vehicles in pristine condition. And so anyway, there is a plan, just not sure when it's going to actually make it up here for that other crew quarters.
Yeah, again, I'm very humbled and honored to fly 3 vehicles after Mr. John Young and also Warren Shearer. But the good thing is many more is ready to follow. Actually, in 5 months from now, the Crew 2, they have another 2 more astronauts who fly the 3rd kind of space vehicle. And the race just begun for who's going to be the first one to fly 4 different ones. So watch out for that.
All right, let's take another question from Jeff Wynn with CBS Los Angeles.
Hey, Victor. Thanks for doing this. One more question for you. You know, in recent days, you've talked about social justice, and you've talked about the need for kids to go into science. As you are circling the Earth every 90 minutes, what has that done to your resolve in terms of social justice and the debate over extreme climate here on Earth?
Yeah, that's, Jeff, that's a great but very, very large question. I'll say this, if anything, it's strengthened my resolve in all of those areas because I believe that, what I've said and what I've tried to work for is just what's right, to be honest and upfront with people, and then to work for what's right. And I think that doing the right thing is always in order. So, looking at the planet from this perspective, actually, I went almost a full day up here before I went and looked out the cupola in the daytime to see the Earth and in these beautiful land masses and oceans without lines or words drawn on them, and also to look out at Dragon. It's beautiful, but it just heightens an awareness that the planet needs protection, that human life needs protection, and we are the ones who have to protect it.
All right. I think we could talk with you all day, but unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions. Thank you so much for your time and for your answers today. It was really great to talk with you. We will continue to keep up with your mission online at nasa.gov/station and by following the station and NASA sites on social media. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event.
Thank you to all the participants from NASA PAO. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.